Thank you for agreeing to meet on SB 15. I know we've gone back and forth a little bit. I'm going to ask a few questions of the revisers, if you don't mind. We were in negotiations with the House tax, and we appreciate you guys joining the conversation. It's an important conversation, and I think you have more expertise than anyone in the building on the topic. So I would ask of the revisers and research, would you please list for us the differences between what's in CCR 8, what we agreed on and voted on last year, and what is in House Bill 2275?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. House Bill 2275, as passed the House, included, in essence, two sets of provisions, two sets of related provisions. One of those sets were changes to an existing tax credit that Kansas had at the time that I believe just recently sunset on December 31st of 2023. It would make a handful of different changes to that credit. It would change the name of it. It would provide for the credit to be extended and increase some caps under the credit. It also would change a few definitions within the credit. The other piece of it was a sheltered workshop transition grant program, a program that would be designed to assist Kansas sheltered workshop employers to transition away from being sheltered workshop employers and then paying all employees at least the minimum wage. The conference committee report brief for Senate Bill 8 included only the tax credit changes, but it included all of the tax credit changes that were a part of 2275.
For clarification, the cap increase, the definition, all of that was included in CCR 8?
Yes.
Okay. And so the only difference was the shelter workshop?
Yeah, the sheltered workshop transition grant program was not a part of the conference committee report for Senate Bill 8.
Okay, and what was the fiscal note on the grant program, if I may?
Believe it provides for an annual $1 million transfer from the Economic Development Incentives Fund to the Transition Fund.
It was not an increase of spending, it was just a transfer of monies.
So there currently, under law, does not exist this grant fund, but the money that goes into the EDIF, something else is done with it. So this would provide for $1 million of that to come out of the EDIF and go into this grant fund, that those expenditures.
Thank you for the clarification. Committee, any other questions? Oh, thank you. Yes.
Madam Chair, I just wanted to add that if one other difference is that there was a change by the House Committee of the Whole on HB 2275 to change one of the definitions, that is the definition that permits, that defines a division of a nonprofit company as a qualified vendor. And in the original bill, it was within such division that division does not employ individuals under the sub-minimum wage certificate by the federal government. But the House Committee of the Whole changed that so that there would not be that exception, and that, for example, a not-for-profit organization that had a division could not, that not-for-profit could not employ individuals. Oh, really? Oh, it is in the conference committee report. Sorry.
Thank you. So there's no difference on that then? Okay, on the tax credit. Okay, thank you. Committee, what are your wishes on this? So we've got two things looking at us. One of the things is the Senate body has seen CCR 8. We have seen all the language in that. Okay. We have visited with leadership and others, and We just want to make sure that everybody's comfortable on the language. This is a unique situation, and we very much appreciate the efforts on it, especially since we know the urgency on this is because the program has sunset, and everybody understands that we are trying to get this done as quickly as possible. But we also want to do it in such a way that our members are comfortable and confident in what we're bringing before them. So I don't know which direction you guys want to go from here. If you want to continue, if you would like, the Senate will queue this up for a hearing next week, either in the Tax Committee or the Commerce Committee. But if you feel the urgency, we will discuss it and try to come to agreement today.
Thank you. Thanks for giving us some options. This is the Disability Employment Act, and we feel like this community has been left out for way too long. They feel like they've been overlooked and forgotten. Just to give you an idea what the community's kind of been through in recent years, the Medicaid waiver wait list is growing year over year. There's over 5,000 intellectual developmental disabled individuals and over 2,400 physically disabled individuals on the Medicaid waiver list currently. That's 7,400 individuals that Medicaid was intended to help. That's what it was supposed to be all about. The governor has not ever proposed an increase in wait list funding. And we have to address it every year in appropriations, and we're not able to get it through. Governor's budget actually decreased from 295 million SGF in 23 to 244 million in 24. That's a $50 million reduction and roughly 20% for these individuals on the IDD wait list. Secretary Howard tried to fix that in 24 by adding 500 slots to IDD and 1,000 slots to PD. Governor Kelly zeroed those out, and this community is watching. They're watching all this happen. On top of that, they thought they had this. We attempted to expand this and improve this last year, and it went into SB 15, maybe, whatever that, SB 8. And they saw that we cared again. Then it was vetoed. And now that has expired on January 1st. These are individuals, and they've been overlooked far too long. I don't know why we wait any longer. It passed the House 124 to 0. The Senate passed this last year, and the only difference is that we're making it better. We're making it so that companies that are paying less than minimum wage can work towards paying minimum wage. And if you think you need to have a hearing on that, I'd ask the Senate to consider that we're haggling over a $1 million difference.
Actually, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to call on Senator Peck. It's actually more than $1 million. We are considered, we've heard your arguments, and I thank you. You are one of the largest and strongest advocates for the disabled in this building. I know there's many people that are, but you yourself have given compelling arguments. We hear you, and we'd like to negotiate today to try to solve and come to resolution on this today. And yes, the Senate did see CCR 8, the provision, but we had not seen the workshop. We have a very strong reputation in the Tax Committee for not presenting policy that the body has not seen. So it's a heavy lift. We're not saying we're not willing to do it. We're just trying to understand where we're at. So
Thank you.
Senator Peck.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I would have a question on the legislation as it passed the House. It has the cap of 5 million cumulative for the first 5 years of the program, which we have come to an end on. And then it has a cap of 5 million for tax or for, no, I'm sorry, that 5 million is increased to 10 million for the 5-year period from 24 through 28, and then 10 million for each consecutive 5 years thereafter, starting with tax year 2029. Personally, I would be more comfortable if we left it at the 5 million, but I guess my question would be, is there, from your standpoint, a good argument for the amount doubling from the 5, which my understanding is they haven't attained the 5 cumulative over 5 years? Would there be a problem with leaving it at the 5 million rather than bumping it to the 10 million?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Representative Mason, I think, can help answer that question.
And thank you for the question, Senator. When this program first started, 2018, 2019, roughly in that time frame, I can't remember the exact time, that $5 million was set, but it did not have that component that the new bill had to allow for these companies with sheltered workshops to create a division within their organization for the integrated workplace. And what we were hoping at that time is that that would expand employment opportunities to, possibly go as high as 10 million. With this, scaling this back now and taking that, or divisions thereof out and getting away from the 214C waiver, then I don't know that that $10 million is a critical issue. I think 5 million would probably be adequate. But having said that, that first 5 years we used $3 million roughly. I believe that's right. So, the $10 million cap, $5 million cap, it probably would be irrelevant. But what I would say about that $3 million utilization is if you divide that out by the 15% tax credit, that's over $20 million in sales that these companies realized. And that provides a lot of employment opportunities for people with disabilities. So that's something we really need to consider.
Senator Peck.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I appreciate that answer from the House. I guess being really tight, just talk to my wife. I would be very pleased to leave it at the 5 million. And if we get close to exceeding that, we can certainly look at this legislation to change that dollar amount from 5 to whatever the legislature determines necessary. So I just wanted to bring that out from my perspective. That is my only, if you will, a little bit of discomfort in the dollar amount going from the 5 to the 10. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Madam Chair, is that an offer?
Let me discuss it, Mr. Chairman. So, Mr. Chairman, we are a house divided. We have a position of, and I'm just going to lay it out there. We have a position of holding the $5 million and a position of accepting 2275 as is. And then fully candid, the shelter portion is what the Senate hasn't seen yet. So we would entertain any offer that the House has and like to negotiate with you there.
Madam Chair. Thanks for giving us a minute to discuss it. I'm not sure if you followed this bill last year, but there was a tremendous amount of contention around the 14C waiver and the fact that we have companies in Kansas that pay these individuals less than minimum wage, and it became a really big and really heated issue. And the motion that was made on the floor was an attempt to solve that. And our goal was to try to include every individual with an intellectual disability and to help those companies come out of the 14C waivers. And that's why the $1 million was important to us. And so I can't believe we're discussing $1 million difference when we just passed a tax bill for $700 million for able-bodied individuals, and we're worried about trying to help intellectually disabled people with $1 million. But so we would like to keep that in. We're okay with the $5 million cap on it, and with the ability to change that as we come up on the $5 million over a 5-year period. We would be able to make a motion in appropriations to adjust that limit when needed, along with a vote of the people.
So, Mr. Chairman, I just want to clarify, that would be acceptable, that appropriations could override the $5 million. Would that be correct?
Keep in mind, I'm not an appropriations reviser. But the only thing to keep in mind is that when you're dealing with appropriations, it's a 2-year, typically a 2-year provision, and your provisions in this tax credit are 5-year periods. So you're going to have to reconcile that in some fashion or think about that at the time.
Mr. Chairman, we're not trying to be difficult at any means. We understand, but you have some very frugal people on this committee. And the tax bill that we did pass actually helps these individuals. Over 340,000 Kansans will be at zero income tax. So that bill is major for low-income individuals. So yes, we are thinking of them as we pass that tax package. My mantra, I live by it, is we help those in need. We help those that cannot help themselves. And so, Mr. Chairman, we are more than willing to accept the $1 million. And I know it's a new provision for the Senate. I understand the argument on the 10 million. We're wondering if we split the difference to 7.5 million, and then it could be revisited if not, or 8 million. We're just trying to work with you. If you guys are adamant on the 10 million, we'll accept the offer. We're just trying to figure out the best policy on this program.
I think that by setting the limit higher, it would be, in a sense, the same effect as adjusting it in appropriations, because we're only going to use what we need, and currently we're using about 500,000 a year. And so if 8 is acceptable for you, we would accept 8 and be mindful that this needs to be effective January 1st because this has expired.
So if I may, Mr. Chairman, we would be willing to accept the 8 million, and there appears to be a sunset in 2029, and we would,
I think we removed the sunset.
okay,
'Cause
we
it
did
goes-
remove the sunset. We do not want a sunset on this program.
Good, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We do want to clarify. My vice chair thinks I'm giving up the farm here. So we're more than willing to go to 8 million, the $1 million inclusion, and no sunsets on the program.
We concur. Thank you very much, and thanks for working with us and hearing us out.
We do have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
And the revisers do also. Go ahead, Senator Peck.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chairman. I was on the bill where it says 10, the two places where it says 10, it would be struck and 8 inserted, is that right? So it would be 8 for a 5-year period and then 8 for each 5-year period from 29 forward.
Madam Chair, that is what I understood from the negotiation here. My question was going to be if you would allow me to go through the provisions just real briefly so that we're on the same page from the reviser standpoint to make sure we're getting everything reflected that you agreed to.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So looking at House Bill 2275 as amended by House Committee of the Whole, looking at these provisions, you have agreed to include the new sections 1 through 3. That is the shelter workshop transition program with the $1 million per year transfers that are included there. My question, just for clarity, is it appears that in the House bill, the The dates, kind of the relevant dates here, the first transfer was scheduled to be July 1st, 2023. And I would surmise that you want us to move the dates forward a year. With this particular program, it is not you weren't intending it to be retroactive, it was a prospective program. Is that correct? Okay, and so it would then expire July 1st of 2034 instead of 2033. Does that sound correct?
It does, and go
Or
ahead.
is it- what do you mean expire?
The way the program is, the way the program is currently is that the provisions of sections 1 through 3 expire on July 1st, 2033, and the fund is abolished.
Okay.
So we would like to clarify too on the last page that there are some dates that may need to be changed. Do you mind if we give the reviser leeway in order to make this retroactive and effective on register?
So I had just gone through the new sections 1 through 3. Now I'm going to move to section 4, which was the was the tax credit that expired at the end of 2023. So our understanding is that that tax credit would be extended if you happen to be looking at the House bill, the references to $10 million found on page 3 for the 5 years, 2024 through 2028, and the $10 million for the for each consecutive 5 years thereafter, starting with 2029. Each of those 10 million, instead, they are going to read 8 million for each of those provisions. And then there will not be an expiration on that. And I guess just in common terms, this will be a continuation, so it will apply to all of tax year 2024. And part of our question was, do we need some sort of, would you like a statement to some degree that makes it clear that their expenditures starting January 1, 2024 will be eligible for this credit? To make it clear.
Yes, the clearer, the better from what our experience has been, yes.
And I believe the one other thing Madam Chair mentioned was that you would like this to be effective with the Kansas Register.
That would be correct. That way there's no question as to the program's existence. Thank you. Any other questions or clarifications? Okay. Thank you very much. I know it was some heartburn getting here, but it was compelling to hear your arguments and important for our body to help understand it. Thank you.
Thank you for hearing us out. Representative Mason has a question.
Senate Bill 15 is the conference committee report that will be ran first in the House and then in the Senate. Yep. So, thank you.
Thank you very much.